Sam Seder on the Majority Report. Emma Vigeland out today. Joining us now, Evan Simko Bednarski. He is a journalist covering transit for the New York Daily News, and he is also the vice unit chair of the Daily News Union, and also a Majority Report emeritus producer. Evan, welcome back to the show.
Happy to be here.
All right. So I saw recently a testimony that you gave in front of the New York City Council. Give us a sense of of what the situation has been with the Daily News, and for people who are outside of New York, maybe give us a little bit of a history of the Daily News, because it really is the most local of New York papers, it seems to me. And yours is a story of the demise of local news in many respects, or the threat to the local news. And if it can happen in New York, it's going to happen anywhere.
Yeah, the Daily News represents what a lot of papers used to represent in this city. You know, it's a hard scrabble tabloid from when that wasn't a bad word. And, we covered the city for about 106 years. I think we're coming up on 107. And it was one of the first papers to really run photographs in a big way. Anything that's happened in this city, the Daily News has covered it. The Daily News was responsible for, breaking the case wide open on the fact that the air wasn't safe after 9/11. The Daily News famously reported on President Ford not bailing the city out during the fiscal crisis of the 70s. It is, to the extent that New York has a sort of, working class shoe leather local daily newspaper anymore, it's the Daily News. And about 4 years ago, the company that owned the Daily News, Tribune, was purchased by Alden Global Capital, which is a private equity firm that has sort of earned the odious moniker of destroyer of newspapers. And we have been, we unionized shortly after and have been trying to negotiate a contract ever since.
So you guys have not had a contract since the new owner took over?
Correct. We've been at the table a little bit more than 3.5 years now.
How much, what does it do to the morale when you get bought by somebody or some entity like that?
It's not great. I mean, the thing about the Daily News is you work at the Daily News because you believe in this place. I grew up, I mentioned in my testimony, I grew up reading the paper at my grandpa's table. Our unit chair, Michael Sheridan, he's a legacy member of the Daily News. His dad was a rewrite guy for many years. It's someplace that you work because you really believe in the institution and the work. And, the morale has taken a hit because it's clear that our owners don't view us that way. We're out there working really hard every day, hours that we don't always get paid for. And, that's not reflected in the investment. You mentioned that, this is a story of the demise of local news nationwide. And it is and it isn't, because, to the best of our knowledge, the Daily News still turns a profit. We just don't get to see any of that. That's not invested back in the paper in any way.
What do you think? What's the agenda of somebody who buys a newspaper and then sort of starts to starve it? The Daily News, like you say, it makes a profit, which is rare in the newspaper world. If you want to make a profit, you don't necessarily buy a newspaper. That's not what you would go and do for an investment strategy, I guess. What do you think is the agenda of an ownership group that buys a paper, starves the employees? What's going on there?
We don't really know. And I think this is as good a time as any to say, Alden Global Capital and Heath Freeman, who's, the head of it, it's an extremely opaque entity. We went out to Montauk to try to ring Heath's doorbell, and there isn't even a doorbell at the gate at the end of his very long driveway out there. We had to leave a handwritten note. So these guys don't, they don't always respond to the request for information that we make at the bargaining table. They don't, we don't always even have staff meetings. It's very opaque. But the sense that I get is that this is like anything else that private equity invests in. There's something with nominal value. You buy it, you squeeze as much of that value out, and then you drop it. They sold our printing plant in Jersey City for $90 million. None of that money has come back. One of the things that happens a lot at this newspaper is that when people leave, either for better paying jobs or they retire, those positions don't get backfilled. So there's headcount floating around, ostensibly. And it's not gone to, we don't have an Albany reporter. We don't have, in this year, we don't have a politics editor. We have very good politics reporters, but no editor who is, in charge of managing this, very fraught, very important election year.
What ends up like, does the paper get smaller or thinner, or is there? Oh, can you hear me? Oh, sorry.
Oh,
you there? Okay. Has the paper gotten smaller or thinner? Like what ends up filling the space if you don't have a reporter in Albany, let's say?
It's, so I cover the trains, and the trains are funded in large part by Albany. When I started out, we did have an Albany reporter, and I would often, call up the Albany reporter and just talk, shoot the shit. Like, what's going on with funding on this thing? Where do you think, X, Y, and Z legislatures are on this issue? And it was useful. It was really useful to be able to understand, what was happening that would ultimately trickle down and affect our readers, in terms of what train lines were getting upgraded, what kind of repairs could be expected, that sort of thing. You fly blind when you don't have that. And that's just, my little tiny local beat.
But also on top of, obviously, like, it makes the report, to not have somebody in Albany, it just seems crazy to me. But how do you fill the pages? Like, is it are you responsible now to produce X plus words, or are they getting syndicated stuff, or what how do they make up the difference?
We do end up running a lot of wire copy. It does not translate so far into, sort of an increased quota or anything on our end. But there are holes in the coverage, and the paper is, if you're a regular reader of the Daily News and you pick it up, you'll notice that it's a little bit lighter. It's hard to see. It's hard to see this paper that has been sort of a giant of covering, power in the city and state, no longer really be able to fill as many pages as it used to. We're very proud of the work that we're doing. We've still managed to do some excellent coverage on the mayoral administration. We've
Definitely.
managed to hold a lot of folks, to account for various things over the past couple of years. But that's all coming from, the reporters working hard. We don't have a newsroom, which is something that I think people don't fully appreciate who read us regularly. The newsroom was, it was closed like many newsrooms were during the COVID lockdown. But when other papers started to come back, our owners decided it wasn't worth paying the rent on the space anymore. And so, I'm in my apartment right now. We have had on more than one occasion, reporters who are collaborating on a story sort of meet after hours, around their kitchen table or something.
I was going to ask, like, do you guys get together, like in a informal, come up with your own makeshift newsrooms and like a diner or something to that effect, or?
Yeah, kind of. We will get together to plan things out and to compare notes. We're on the phone with each other a lot. I when I can, like to go into there are still press rooms in certain places around the city, like in City Hall and in some of the courthouses, and that's some place where you can sort of set up. And Alden did shell out to rent a 6-desk co-working space in Midtown. But we really kind of go there to, charge our laptop batteries, which, by the way, the laptops that they issued us have very poor batteries. So
I would imagine at this point.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah.
so give us a sense of like, what were you doing in front of the City Hall, in terms of like testifying, and what are you guys asking? I mean, I get a better sense. Obviously, you want a contract, and I know you guys are looking for like fair wages and cost of living increases. I mean, very sort of like vanilla requests here for basic for workers, job protections, benefits, even for part-time workers, some measure of security, and some standard benefits. What were you asking from the city council, and what can folks do who read the paper do?
So the city council, a couple of folks in the labor committee reached out and, wanted to author a non-binding resolution in support of our contract fight. And we're, when people that you cover not always favorably want to back you in a fight, that's a good sign. So, that we were speaking in support of that resolution as last week. And really what we're asking for, like I said, it's not super radical. We have 55 full-time employees and 7 part-time employees covering the city of 8 and change million people. And we want a living wage. We want to be able to, live in the city that we cover. And about 90, so we've got, like I said, 55 full-time employees. 19 of those folks are making less than $65,000 a year, which is not livable in this city. We even have some folks making less than $55,000. We want some of the money that we make to come back and be reinvested in this newspaper, and for that to come to us in the form of like a real, tangible wage increase. Some of the folks who took wage decreases at the beginning of COVID in lieu of a furlough have not been made whole. None of them who took that have been made whole. So you've got folks who've worked here for a decade or so and are making less now than they did when they started. So we, in a very real way, need to be able to afford to live in the city if we're going to cover it well and we're going to do our jobs for our readers. But the other things we're asking for are things that I think most folks assume people like daily news reporters already have. We want paid parental leave. We want to be paid on days when we have to go to jury duty, which they don't want to pay us in the upcoming.
I thought that was illegal. I thought you had to pay people.
I mean, there are legal guidelines for things
That's what
like
Matt told me. And he was on like a grand jury for like 6 months.
Special extended one.
There are legal requirements for like parental leave and things of that nature. And, and that's what they're saying as well. We'll give you the, but listen, I raised one of my 2 kids on that when I was working at a different outlet, and it's not great. It's not great. They're, trying to eat away at our vacation days. It really is just sort of nickel and diming stuff. In the grand scheme of things, we want to just be able to keep paying our rent and keep doing our jobs.
So what can folks who want to support the daily news workers do, whether they read the paper on a regular basis or not? What can folks do to help?
Well, one thing we know is that the private equity firm that owns us, Alden Global Capital, and their head honcho, Heath Freeman, they don't like when their names get dragged out. They like to do their buying and selling in secret. And so just talking about it, just like raising the issue, just, supporting.
Is that ALDEN as in Alden Global?
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious.
And they are, if people can sort of join their voice to the city council resolution, we have a petition that you can find at nydnunion.com and sign off on that. That helps us sort of, leverage the support of New Yorkers. But I think part of what's going on here is, private equity firms buy something because they think it's valuable, and they sell something once they think it's not valuable. So any demonstration of the value of this paper to this city is good for us. It helps us. It helps us be able to continue to do our jobs. You know, we don't want to inflict any pain on our owners. We want our owners to invest in us, and we want to be able to do our job. So, you know, anything as simple as subscribing to the paper, buying the paper, talking about the coverage we have, you know, making it clear that we're still a power in this city, is important and helps.
This is where getting on social media can actually have an actual impact. Evan Simko Bednarski, we will put a link to the New York Daily Union, nydunion.com, and the petition as well. Thanks so much. Great to see you again. Have you on the show. It's been
a lot of years.
16 years, 14, 15 years.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Really appreciate it. Evan, thanks so much. Good luck. And hope to see you again soon. All right. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.